What's going on, guys? This is Damien from the Red Ribbon headquarters, bringing you the best leader in the entire game, Magenta. So before we begin this video that is totally not made at gunpoint, click that like and subscribe button and help us get to 1,500 subs by the 26th of November for the glory of Red Ribbon. Now, roll the video.
Card Market is Europe's largest platform for all TCGs. Always find the right cards by buying and selling them across Europe with other players and collectors. Be it singles, boosters, booster boxes, or any other accessories, you name it. Card Market is the place to get them safely, securely, and readily available.
So what is this deck all about? How has the glorious Magenta improved the game? Well, he managed to assemble all of the villains, glorious Magenta, and created a a prismatic or rainbow hand destruction deck with a semi-swarm element. Because all of these villains are so happy to work for him that you can play them like almost for super cheap, for 1 energy. There are no unisons, no extra cards. You can put some old extra cards with villainous. Just this leader, our boss Magenta, his gun and his big battle cards. So your battle cards have a great synergy between each other, and we will go into full details. So if you're interested in playing this deck, this will be like the most detailed guide on how to play Magenta. Let's go. Here is our leader, our glorious leader Magenta, the ultimate bad guy. Behold, the boss in his full glory. So, let's talk about him. The boss has this permanent. You can't include non-villainous cards in your deck, because boss has standards. But this permanent is the worst part of the boss. Like his standards are so high that it can cripple the deck building a bit. But Magenta also has amazing HR and recruiting skills. So when he tutors, he just looks at top 5 and grabs the most qualified person for the job. And he always awakens on turn 2. So he's always here on time. He draws you 2 cards. He doesn't restand energy because Magenta believes in your ability to manage your own resources. So you don't need energy restanding. On the awakened side, the boss shows you why he's a great leader. For 1 energy, activate main, you can play any villainous card from your hand that costs less or equal to your current energy. And what's also great is, here at Red Ribbon, we aspire to inspire each other. I got a very healthy dose of inspiration today. So when you play a villainous card, this card automatically helps you trigger the villainous effects of other villainous cards on the field. So we have great synergy. Let's talk about the villainous mechanic. First off, the name is complete slander. The trick to winning with Magenta is to abuse the living daylight out of this mechanic. So when you have a card with villainous on the field and you play a different card with villainous, you trigger the previous card's villainous, causing your opponent to discard the card, and then you negate villainous for the turn. So if you say have like 3 villainous cards, and on your board at the start of your turn you play the 4th one, your opponent discards 3 cards, and those 3 villainous skills are negated for the rest of the turn. That's the synergy here. Let's briefly talk about the Z battle card. So this card is amazing because it is a 1-cost 20k double striker. There is a very niche use for its second ability when it comes to bottom decking a card, but we'll go over that later, but so far not too special, but 1 drop 20k double striker. If you need extra pressure, this is your card. Now, talking about the Z deck, some of you might consider this permanent to be too crippling, but no, the rules say that the leader imposed the deck restrictions do not apply to the Zenkai deck. In other words, you can use non-villainous cards in your Zenkai deck. This just goes to show the glorious Magenta's recruitment skills, because, slanderous people think only that villains work for Magenta. You see, everyone wants to work for Magenta, so yeah, let's see how can we abuse this. These are some of the options that I have found. So you can use Frieza for even more hand destruction. Let's say your opponent is on a very low hand count, but you've used all of your villainous interactions. You have some energy left. Play Frieza. Attack, force them to discard. Beerus is just applying more pressure. Beerus is amazing and Beerus isn't leader locked. So this is like your Rush Attack Vegeta that you can play in Magenta. Jiren, the immovable, is here as a unison removal, because this one also isn't leader locked. And Magenta shouldn't have any problems charging Z energy. And finally, in a format where so many decks can sometimes have more than 10 cards, you're using Vegeta Stronger together, or you can use Goku, but Goku doesn't. He has a bad employee history with Red Ribbon Army, so we're using Vegeta instead. This is just, hand size regulation. Let's say that you can, realistically, discard like 7 cards from your opponent's hand, but they have like 15. You just use Vegeta, drop them to 10, use all of your villainous triggers, discard 7 cards, drop them to 3, and then proceed to attack. So yeah, these are your Z cards. These are the villains, the employees of the month. So there's a whole bunch of them, but these are the ones that we are going with, plus Beerus because I ran out of space. So these ones you can use in any deck. Of course, some of them are better in some other decks, but here, these are the ones that you can use and that you can get the most out of. We'll quickly go over each of them. Starting off with the best 2 villains in the deck, Bojack and Turles. These are your MVPs. Not only are they the cheapest battle cards to play, their value comes in the fact that you can trigger villainous only for 1 energy, while putting another villainous card, aka themselves, onto the board for 1 energy. One of them is 15k, the other is like 20k. These are very, very strong cards. Think of them as one cost 15 to 20k with auto when discard enters, your opponent discards 1 or more cards from their hand. In any other deck, yeah, you would like to play 1 energy, a beat stick that says, okay, your opponent discards 2 cards now. So these guys, absolutely amazing. Moving on to Cooler and Bio Broly. So I thought about Lord Slug, but Lord Slug requires Bond to be 25k, while Cooler has Deflect, Double Strike, and is 25k. What's even better is Cooler can either withstand an energy, or he can remove something. So if you pay 1 and play him with Magenta's ability, he is basically a free 25k if you choose to restand something. That's great. Bio Broly, like everyone in the office hates Bio Broly. He might be an awful villain and an awful person, but hey, think of him like this. He is 1 energy, 20k dual attacker who causes your opponent to discard a card, or who can cause, if you play something after him, depending on your villainous situation, and if he is KO'd, you can return him. So yeah, for 1 energy, that's a whole lot. Next up, Janemba and Golden Frieza. Janemba is the hidden MVP of this deck. You play him for 1 energy, you trigger villainous, you bounce like Turles and Bojack back into your hand, and then you play both of them for 1 energy each. You trigger villainous again, and with Bojack, let's say you trigger Janemba's villainous now, and then you play Turles, you trigger Bojack's villainous. Janemba is amazing. Janemba is the hidden MVP of this deck. We're playing Golden Frieza because there are no other counters. There are just no other counters that we can use. And the boss doesn't need counters. The boss is full of confidence. But just in case some, filthy Saiyans show up, we have Golden Frieza to protect us. Plus he also triggers villainous. So in some cases this is just counter attack, play this guy, negate the attack, your opponent discards multiple cards. Come on! You cannot say that this isn't awesome. Now come the big beaters, the big beat sticks, Red Ribbon Robot and SS Broly. So Red Ribbon Robot, some people think that this guy is automatically a joke because Red Ribbon Robot was shit in the old Red Ribbon Army deck, which wasn't led by Magenta. Under Magenta's orders, that deck would have been much better. So Red Ribbon Robot approached us with an idea for a career change, and Magenta was happy to hire him and give him some good improvements. Now look how good our leader is. Look how good Red Ribbon Robot is under Magenta's own orders, you know. So first off, for one energy, willingness 25k, you're never gonna use activate, main ignore that part. You can actually cheat him out for one energy when you play Janemba or you play the Gamma battle card, because both of those cards remove a battle card, villainous battle card, from the battle area, which triggers Robot's auto. So for one energy, you just play the robot, then trigger villainous again, 25k. So you play Janemba, you bounce Bojack and Turles, for example, back into your hand, you pay one because they went to your hand, robot triggers, robot enters, triggers Janemba's villainous, discards a card, and then just hits for 25k. SS Broly is our, I won't say win-con, but he is our big play. He is huge, he's a board wipe. Yeah, this is our big turn 4 payoff. Here is some more firepower. So we have Beerus. Beerus is good. He's deflect offering 25k. This offering can be devastating depending on the pressure that you have put out until turn 3 or, you know, a bit later in the game. Meta Cooler. Well, Magenta doesn't care about, you know, specified energy cost. However, Z battle cards do. And that's why we're playing Cooler. Because Cooler is a multicolored ignore energy exhaust card. And our battle cards are yellow. The Gamma requires one yellow energy. And if you're going with what I think is the better package, the green one, then you know you will need 2 specified green energy for your battle cards, your Z battle cards, and that's where Cooler comes in. Worst case, you can cheat him out for 1 and then he KOs something. Finally, we have, you know, the weird employees. We're not sure why we keep them around, but sometimes, you know, they can surprise you. Sometimes they can be useful. So the Good Doctor here is a cheap and versatile villainous card that can help us get rid of some unisons. So that's okay. He's good, you know, he removes markers and then he forces your opponent to discard. That's fine. Broly is just another, you know, cheap card that can warp something on a swing. And that's it, you know, you use them if you're really, you know, under pressure and you need to play something, or you're just like charge Broly in the energy or something. They sometimes have their uses, though depending on what decks you're playing against, maybe, you know, they're more of a sideboard cards. I wouldn't play like playsets of these. Now comes the part that all of you have been waiting for. How do you actually play this deck? Starting up with the Mulligan. This is your Mulligan. So you need your 1-drops. I prefer Tao because Tao can tutor. You know, Tao is a former HR manager, so he knows how to find the right people. You need Bojack. If you happen to draw Turles, keep him. Never mulligan off the Turles. If you get Turles and you don't get Bojack, yeah, but you know, keep Turles if you find Bojack. And then finally, you have Metacooler. Metacooler is relevant a bit later in the game, but he's fine to keep. Other than that, just keep anything to charge into your energy, because, you know, Magenta doesn't really care about that. Now, our kind boss Magenta has asked me kindly, not forcefully at all, to talk more about this deck and to show you more than just 2 turns, because Magenta deserves more than just 2 turns. So this deck is actually very, very good and very flexible. You just need to figure it out. So this time we're going even further beyond. We're going to show you turns 1 to 4. We are assuming that you're going first. We're also assuming that you have hard mulligan for Metacooler, Tao and Bojack. The goal is to set up for lethal on turns 4 and 5. Let's go! Turn 1. Okay, goons, it's time to work, how our boss says here. So you start, you charge, let's say Bio Brawl, or charge something blue. Usually it's always good to charge green or blue, or maybe yellow if you didn't keep the meta cooler, but we assume that you have, because of your Z deck. And then you pay 1, you play Tau, and then Tau looks for new recruits, hopefully Turles or Bojack if you just have one of them, and then you pass the turn. First turn is always the same. It doesn't matter which card you charge in your Z energy, because Magenta doesn't care about specified energy cost. Magenta is an equal opportunity employer. He doesn't discriminate, when it comes to energy costs. But for the purposes of the Z deck, it's always good to go with either green or blue, or yellow if you don't have the meta cooler. Turn 2, you charge the meta cooler because you need the yellow energy for Gamma, or let's say you want to play like Frieza or Jiren, you need the second green one. You attack with Magenta, tutor for a turn-free play. During this attack, you combo with Bojack and you pay 1. Bojack's ability says that when Magenta is your leader and you combo with him, you get to play Bojack if pay 1. So you play Bojack, you bounce your opponent's 1-drop, because Bojack bounces something that costs more or equal to your opponent's amount of energy. That's a 1-drop. You trigger Villainous of your 1-drop, of your Tau. You awaken with Magenta, you draw 2 cards, and then you pay 1. Because you have 2 Villainous cards in play, Tau and Bojack, you can play Turles for 1. Turles triggers Bojack's Villainous. Then you attack with Turles and you combo with the Tau. Tau goes into your Z energy because you need 1 Z energy for Gamma. And then you attack with Bojack, and finally you end the turn. On turn 2, you have attacked 3 times, charged the Z energy, set up the necessary energy for turn 3 play, and most importantly, triggered Villainous 2 times, discarding 2 cards from your opponent's hand. And now on turn 3, the real fun begins. First things first, on your turn 3, you have more choices for your leader's awakened ability. You get to either play Beerus, Cooler, or Bio Broly. Okay, you didn't use your leader's activate main on turn 2 because it's just kinda useless. So don't do that, just spend the energy to play Turles or Bojack, depending on which one and how you set up and everything. But usually Turles. So here you have all of them as good options for 1 energy. For this example, we will go with the Cooler. Turn 3, here we go. You charge something, you have 3 energy, activate main, pay 1, you play Cooler. You use Cooler to ready 1 energy unless your opponent has like Unison out or something that you just want to get rid of. Usually, if let's say they don't have it, so you just pay 1 energy, you trigger Turles' Villainous if Turles is still on the board. We are assuming that Turles and Bojack are on the board, that you have managed to protect them. Then you pay 1 energy and you play Janemba. Janemba enters for 1 energy if you bounce 2 Villainous cards. You bounce Turles and Bojack. Now you're triggering Cooler's Villainous. So far your opponent has discarded 2 cards. You pay 1 energy and you play Red Ribbon Robot. Red Ribbon Robot can be played, he can be cheated out when a Villainous battle card is removed from the battle area. That's what Janemba does. Janemba bounces a card, removes it from the battle area, you pay 1, you play the Robot. Robot triggers Janemba's Villainous. Your opponent discards 3rd card. Robot attacks, and then you have 1 energy open, you combo, pay 1, and you play the Bojack. Bojack bounces something from your opponent and triggers Robot's Villainous. So your opponent discarded 4 cards now, and then you just attack with everything else. There is a variation of this play if you choose to go with Gamma instead. So everything is the same, just instead of Janemba, you pay 1 energy and 1 Z energy to play Gamma. You send something to your drop to give Gamma double strike, and then you pay 1 to play the Robot. The Robot play and everything else still goes. We're assuming that like this Bojack was in your hand, because I forgot to edit everything here, but basically you can still do a similar play with Gamma, because sending something to drop is still removing a villainous card from the battle area, and then you just go with a robot. If you don't have Bojack, you just play something else, play like Turles or something else for 1 energy, or you just skip that energy for Frieza for defense on your opponent's turn. Let's talk a bit about Janemba. So the best targets for Janemba are Bojack and Turles, because you can just play both of them for 1 energy. And you know, you need to do your best. If you have both of them out, do your best to keep them alive. Because if you bounce both of them with Janemba's skill, that's super explosive. If you bounce both of them. Cooler, Bio Broly and Beerus also work, but they aren't as good because they will require your leader to use his ability on them next turn instead of your 4-drop. So they're not that good. They're really not that good. Remember, you must have 2 villainous cards. Janemba doesn't say up to 2. It says 2. And Janembas don't count. So just keep this in mind. And yeah, I hope that I have explained to you why Janemba is so good in this deck. Next up, World Domination. You charge 1 energy, you pay 1, activate main, you slap the Broly, wipe the board, trigger villainous from one of your cards, the last card that you played last turn, and then you just proceed to win. From this point on, after you play Broly, you have free energy left. There are multiple things that you can do with this free energy, so I didn't want to create full breakdowns of them, but I will show you some of them. These are the couple of things that come to my mind, not involving any Z-Battle cards. So you can do the Janemba robot play again. You can use Tao to grab Bojack and or Turles. I mean like Bojack or Turles. Or you can just like play Bojack and or Turles. Free energy is a lot in this deck, because as I have been showing you during this entire breakdown, a lot of these cards can be cheated out for cheap. You don't need the leader's effect. The leader's effect is here to cheat out free plus cost cards, except the robot. But like the rest of them, you can play them for dirt cheap, and then you just demolish your opponent's hand and Magenta wins, and everything is as it should have been all along. Let's dive into the summary. So this deck is super versatile. As I have shown you, it's very versatile after turn 2. The permanent is a bit crippling, but Magenta's power is so huge that without this permanent, the deck would have just been like the strongest deck in the game. So look at everything that I have shown you, and now just imagine that you can also play like any extra card, any unison in this. There would be no stopping Magenta. Not that anyone can stop Magenta anyway. It feels like an Agents of Destruction light deck, which isn't a bad thing at all, and it is super fun to play. And finally, a big shout out to Fred. Fred is the guy who won the PeerCon event with the GT deck, and he was so cool. He went to a call with me and he showed me the ways of Magenta. Fred is, the employee of the year. He is Magenta's pet employee. Magenta loves him more than anyone else. And he shared his secrets with Fred, and now Fred shared them with me. I hope this doesn't get you in trouble with the boss, Fred. Anyway, huge shout out to you, Fred. Now, let's end the video. One final shout out is to our dear Nicolina, who actually did the makeup. Don't worry, I didn't get beat up much by Magenta, but he said like, Nicolina, come here, make it look more realistic. So, shout out to you, Nina. That's it for the video. Let me know in the comments below. Are you excited to play this deck? Are you excited to join Red Ribbon Army in its conquest for world domination? I am super excited for the opportunity to have been recruited into the Red Ribbon Army. And yeah, I hope that you are too. So leave some positive things about Magenta and Red Ribbon Army in the comments below. Please leave them. So yeah, this has been Damien, and before I leave, hit that like and subscribe button. We are on our way to 1,500 subs. We have like almost less than 200 subs to go. Maybe we can make it by the 26th of November. Now I have to go. There is this bold police officer knocking on the door. Hopefully someone sent help. This has been Damien from The Lookout, and I'll see all of you in the next video.